The Battle of Alberta returns to the provincial capital one last time this season. We get you set for the Oilers and the Flames on the Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. It is the Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola, Matt Kassian, our game analyst, will be with us in a little bit, and the one and only YouTube Trev holding things down back at ESTHQ. I'm in the cozy, comfy confines of the EST Satellite Studios just outside of Ice District as we get set for the 33-19-2 Edmonton Oilers taking on the 27-25-5 Calgary Flames. How are you doing? Do you feel good about this one? Have you recovered from last night's 4-2 Oilers loss at the hands of the Minnesota Wild? A lot of angry Oiler fans out there last night. I get it. 0-1-1 on this current 5-game homestand. You can text us as always, 780-218-9999, or get at us in the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. You can now hear us on iHeartRadio because we heart you, and as well as TuneIn, which has had a great run for the last couple of months. And then if you're listening on our audio stream via the Edmonton Sports Talk website, we certainly appreciate that as well. And we'll see if the Oilers can get off the schneid, get into the win column against the Calgary Flames team that they've had a lot of success against lately, and if they can bounce back from yesterday's performance. YouTube Trev, how you doing, pal? You all right?
Oh, yeah. We're good, buddy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let's see you, pal. Let's see you. Where are you at?
Let's do this. There we go.
There we go. Oh, look at you.
Sorry, I'm wearing the jersey 2 nights in a row.
You love that thing.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I can't wait to rep this. You'll be seeing it. I'll be wheeling and dealing out there tomorrow, and I can't wait. So yeah, Tommy, it's been a good day. I've been at EST headquarters all day, and watching a lot of hockey, getting a lot of work done, and it's been a really good day. Hello Hockey. We this was our first live show that we had today. So and we're on Sportsnet. If you don't know, now you know. So that was really cool. It's pretty sweet. My voice is technically on Sportsnet a little bit, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, what the heck?
But not our first live show. It was our first live show that we had to quickly zip over to Sportsnet.
Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty cool. But, yeah, I was watching. I got to watch a lot of hockey. Watched Philly and New York Rangers today. That was a decent game. And then I was watching the Maple Leafs in Colorado right before pregame here. So lots of hockey, yeah. But we got a better one tonight, Tommy. Battle of Alberta. This one, it just gets me going like the last one. You know, I get hyped up for these games, as do the Nasties, and I mean they have every right to be hyped up. This is sick. Yeah, I can't wait. It should be a good one.
One of 13 games on the NHL schedule. There's YouTube, Trev. That's what our uniforms will be for tomorrow's heavy hockey charity game, 11 o'clock at Rogers Place. So looking forward to that. Look at that beautiful logo designed by the one and only Tube Socks, now on a uniform. So Tube Socks, he texted me yesterday. He's like, look at that banner. Look at the Oil Stream banner outside of Hudson's Bourbon Street yesterday. He liked that. Now he's got his logo on uniforms. Tube Socks just crushing it with the lovely work he's done for us at EST, and we'll be sporting those unis tomorrow on the ice. We'll see how Team EST does. We've got Fergie's Prostate and Pete coaching us, right, Trev?
That is correct. Yep.
And then Lieutenant Eric and Matthew Iwanek, and we'll see if Iwanek gets tossed out for being a jackass behind the bench. It could happen. All right, I want to throw out the question of the night because people being jerks, kind of a theme, irritating, a theme, rivalries, it happens, fan bases clashing. Could we see it tonight? Question of the night. Hit us up, 780-218-9999, and then get at us in the nasty chat as well. Which rival Canadian fan base irritates you the most? Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, other? Can't be Winnipeg. Can it be Ottawa? Montreal, maybe? You let us know. Tell us why. I want to hear some stories as we have another Battle of Alberta in our town tonight. First one at Rogers Place, of course. The other one coming at the end of October at Commonwealth Stadium. So, question of the night, which rival Canadian fan base irritates you the most? I want stories. Tell me. 780-218-9999 and via the nasty chat. We do have Cammy Kepke coming up from Flames Nation. She'll give us the scoop on these Calgary Flames. But as is tradition, YouTube Trev, which rival Canadian fan base irritates you the most?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going fan base, yeah, I mean, I when I first read the question, I thought it was team, and I was like, okay, I mean, it has to be the Flames, probably. No, but as far as base goes, man, I mean, it has to be the Toronto Maple Leafs. The whole world revolves around them. It drives me crazy. It's just they always think they're right. I don't know. I have no time in day for hearing most Leafs fans what they have to say, especially when it's Matthews, the Matthews talk. Albeit, yeah, he's an unreal talent. Probably he is the best goal scorer in the NHL right now. Maybe one of the best goal scorers of all time. But, it's just, he's way better than McDavid, this and that. And it's like, no, I have no time and day for that. They don't really know what they're talking about half the time. And so for that reason, it's Leafs fans. They really get me going, Tommy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with any of them. I think they're all fantastic.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Yeah.
Yes. Let us know your thoughts. I see the nasty chat starting to light up. 780-218-9999. And in the nasty chat, which other Canadian team fan base irritates you the most and why? I want stories. All right, let's go to the nasty chat. Tommy Rubella says, solid hate for Calgary, but very hard to say they're worse than the center of the universe fans. That, of course, being the Leafs. Penner's Pancakes chimes in, says 1 Leafs, 2 Canucks. Honestly, had season seats for 20 years, never had an issue with Flames or Habs fans. Stony Soprano Yukon says Leafs and Canucks. And Dr. Gonzo says, look at this. Look at that. I love it. Ask Luke Gazdick. Yeah, Gaz would probably let you know how much... is it the Leafs or the Ottawa Senators fans that hate him? I think it's...
Yeah, it's the Senators. Yeah, Sens fans. He can't stand them, and they don't really like him back.
Well, that's okay. He will survive. But Tommy Rubella, yes, good point. 780-218-9999. Question of the night. Sweet, to the point, and should get the juices flowing for tonight. Which rival Canadian fan base irritates you the most? Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, other... Don't hear a lot of Winnipeg. Don't hear a lot of Ottawa. Not really a lot of Montreal. So we want to hear from you. We were talking about, this came up a little bit on Hello Hockey earlier in the day where we were talking about the fights. And I remember the lady that was working the media elevator at the Saddle Dome was reading a book, listening to the game on the little speaker in the elevator. And she goes, Edmonton media? And I was like, yep. And she's like, Oilers fans are nowhere near as bad as Canucks fans. And I said, oh, go on. And she said that she always witnessed fights whenever Canucks fans were at the Saddle Dome. So I always go back to that story. Now, I've seen some amazing fights in the worst way at the old Coliseum when the Canucks were in town. I've seen some battles when the Flames are in town. What I'm saying is don't fight each other. Don't fight each other. Just have fun. Let's get to some text really quick before we get to Cammy Kepke from Flames Nation. Tom, do you think Marc-Andre Fleury would be a good addition to the Oilers? From Daniel. Daniel, I would say yes, but I also say it's completely unrealistic. I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury would waive a no-trade clause to come to Edmonton, but thank you for the question. Big Uke, who is away from town, says, I've caught some fish. I had a few brewskis. McDavid has a night. Let's go Oilers. And then Coach Mike texting in says, hey, Tommy, does Markstrom have the Oilers flu? He missed the last Battle of Alberta with an injury. Flames afraid the Oilers will light him up. All kidding aside, the Oilers need a bounce-back game tonight from Coach Mike. Let's get into some starting lineups, and then we'll get to Cammy. I'll save that question for her. For the Oilers, they did play last night. This is what we did see as the starting lineup. McDavid between Fogle and Hyman. Draisaitl was with Nugent Hopkins and Kane. McLeod was with Janmark and Perry. Ryan between Holloway and Brown. And then, of course, they had to mishmash things as they were chasing the game in the third period. And then on defense, no changes. Nurse with CC. Ekholm with Bouchard. Kulak with Desharnais. If they go with the same lineup, no Sam Gagner. If they get Gagner in there, I would assume Connor Brown comes out of the lineup. As for the Flames, here's what we're anticipating tonight. Michael Backlund with Andrew Mangiapane and Blake Coleman. Nazem Kadri with Connor Zary and Martin Pospisil. Yegor Sharangovich between Jonathan Huberdeau and Jacob Pelche. And then Kevin Rooney centering Dryden Hunt and Walker Dewar. On defense for the Flames, Noah Hannafin with Chris Tanev. Mackenzie Weegar paired up with Rasmus Anderson. Oliver Shillington with Braden Paschal. I hope I'm saying that right. AJ Greer with an ankle injury. He's on the IR. And then Andrei Kuzmenko out due to illness. Starting goalies for tonight for the Oilers, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 25-12-2 with a 266 GAA, 903 save percentage, 2 shutouts, 40 games this year. Skinner versus the Flames, 4-0, 1.25 GAA, 965 save percentage, and 5 career appearances versus Calgary. And then at the other end of the rink, it is Dan Vladar. The 26-year-old is 7-2 with a 322 GAA, 888 save percentage, 17 games played this season. 1-1 lifetime versus Edmonton with a 917 save percentage and 253 GAA. All right, let's bring her in. Cammy Kepke from Flames Nation. She was in town for the Heritage Classic. She's back in Calgary. Hello, Cammy. What's going on in Calgary?
Hey, pal. How's it going? We're getting a good dump of snow. Everyone's ready to go skiing here once the game's wrapped up.
As if you're not going to do that. You're going to watch the game. You're going to hear Flames fans complain about something. And then we're going to hear about Jacob Markstrom getting traded to New Jersey tomorrow. How does that sound?
I mean, I will be on the hill for it. And I find that news does tend to break the moment I'm out of cell service. So that is probably how it will go down.
Perfect. You don't have to deal with it then, right? It's your Sunday too.
Not my chair, not my problem.
Ha! I love it. All right, Cavi, these Flames are coming off back-to-back wins, a win against Winnipeg, win against Boston. The Oilers lost to Boston. The Oilers lost to Minnesota last night. What has Calgary done well that's led to those victories from what you've seen in these last two?
They really had to clean things up. The effort against Winnipeg in particular was so key because the Flames had really just laid bare 2 of their worst performances of the new year at a time when they had a lot of positive momentum and a chance to jump into a playoff spot. So I think the concern around this group is that they will often play to the level of their opponent, which is also something that we saw last year when they would get gassed by a lesser team on paper like a Columbus and then put on a battle for the ages against a Boston or a Toronto. And they played really well against Winnipeg with the 6-3 win, even though Monahan got the hat trick, and then we saw the OT thriller against Boston. But I find when we go back to the Heritage Classic, that was a really deflating loss and a negative time to be around the team. And someone who was taking a lot of the heat in that was Nazem Kadri. And we really questioned if he was being accountable for his play. But really, since late November, his line with Connor Zary and Martin Pospisil has been one of the most exciting and effective ones. And we saw him get 2 goals and a helper against the Jets and another assist on Pospisil's 5th of the year and the OT winner against the Bruins. And what else has been really special about these last 2 games and a real rallying point for Calgary was seeing Oliver Shillington score his first and second goal since returning. So we know he's a smooth skater. He's been making the most of his 14, 15-ish minutes a night. And now he's really using his speed to look for offensive opportunities.
Cammy,
and by the way, it's
what?
Pahal.
Pahal. I knew it. Thank you. I was hoping you would correct me. I should have just looked it up on the pronunciation guide that the league provides, but I wasn't able to do that. And that means I was too lazy.
Too busy picking out a tie.
Maybe. You know me well. Okay, we're going to move on from that. You brought up Shillington. This is an interesting story. Obviously, he missed time, personal reasons. Give us the scoop on him. And you mentioned the good things that he's done, getting back in the goal column. This journey and process that he's taken to get back into the Flames lineup. For Oiler fans that haven't kept tabs on Oliver Shillington, what do they need to know? And how does he add to this back end on the Flames roster?
He was a player that the Flames had big plans for before he took this mental health leave. And he was very close to coming back. He was at training camp and he just still wasn't ready. And the team gave him a lot of leeway to work on the things he needed to work on while letting him know that they were there for him. And if he could work his way back, he'd work his way back. And he's been pretty upfront about how emotional it was being able to get back into the lineup. He had a huge standing ovation when he made his Wranglers debut, getting the legs back under him. But what's really great for Flames fan to see is that his skating, which has kind of been the hallmark of his game, is still there. And he used to be a little defensively irresponsible, but he used to be paired up with Chris Tanev, who has kind of transformed the game of many a young defenseman. So I think that helped him shore up the defensive side of his game. And now we see that the offensive side of it is back there too.
It's a good story and nice to see. With him back in the lineup, does this make Tanev more expendable? I was going to save the trade stuff for later, but what's your read on that?
I don't know if it makes him expendable, because Chris Tanev is a guy who's made everyone he's played with better. Noah Hanifin used to be a defenseman whose game I didn't necessarily love. Oilers fans will love this, but like the defining moment in my mind was when Hanifin got walked by Matt Benning. Do you remember that one?
Probably. If I saw it again. Oh, yeah, that goal by Matt Benning, of all people.
Of all people. But when he started to play more with Tanev, I found he really, he was a guy who had all the pieces and maybe didn't necessarily use them all to the best that he could.
Right.
And I find like that's really completed his game. But now we know those are the two guys who are really in play in terms of trade pieces. So I think Craig Conroy is going to do what he's going to do. The team has seen a bit of a jump, a little addition by subtraction in the room, if you will. And you have to wonder, like, what is the tipping point where there's too much change and you have too many guys trying to learn a new system? But on the other hand, what we've seen with them kind of now is you get a lot more buy-in and everyone's willing to, play their bag off every night.
And it goes a long way, and it usually ends up in results. And the Flames have won 6 of their last 9, as we're joined by Cammy Kepke from Flames Nation. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us. And then if you're watching, you can get at us in the nasty chat. One of those guys that has come in and seems to have amalgamated well is Andrei Kuzmenko. He's out with an illness tonight, but from your point of view, why has he fit in so well, and why has he been a boon to this Flames lineup?
He had a great start. Like, obviously, there's some things he's been adjusting to system-wise. We've seen Ryan Huska monitoring the minutes a little bit. Last game, he did get bumped down to the fourth line for a bit, and Dryden Hunt got the call up to the top. But I think there's a hope that he brings a finisher's mentality to a team that really didn't seem to have that guy, not even this year, but last season as well. It was kind of Tyler Toffoli for them. Right. Last season, obviously, he's gone. So he scored the goals in his first 2 games with the team. And in the 6 games since, he's got 1 goal and 1 assist. But I think some of the Flames themselves weren't quite sure what the situation was going to be. I think it was Blake Coleman who said, I'm reading the articles and he's this guy who scored more than 30 goals, and Vancouver's just kind of content to keep him out of the lineup. Like, what's wrong with him? And so far, he's really impressed people with his gregariousness, and I think he's fit in with the team well, and he's trying things. We've seen some really nice plays with him and Jonathan Huberdeau. The best thing that Jonathan Huberdeau does is pass, and the best thing Kuzmenko does is finish. So it's been a pretty nice mix seeing him with Sharon Govich and Huberdeau.
Yeah, it feels like Kuzmenko wasn't a talk-it type of player, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's safe to say. All right. I did have this text. I read it. I think you were getting set up. It came in from Coach Mike, and I said I'd save it for you. It says, does Markstrom have the Oiler flu? He missed the last Battle of Alberta with an injury. Flames afraid the Oilers will light him up. All kidding aside, the Oilers need a bounce-back game tonight. So, Cammy, what would you say about not starting Markstrom versus the Oilers and going to Dan Vladar tonight?
Man, the guy has just saved 30-plus shots in his last 2 starts. Yeah, I'd believe it if he tweaked something. Did you see those goals or those saves where he's stretching off to deny Pasternak coast to coast?
Yes.
That'll twinge a groin. I don't know. And I think just being around Jacob Markstrom, he is an extremely intense person. And I think he would be chomping at the bit to try to get some revenge against a team that he feels has wronged him. So I don't think it's Oiler flu. We haven't seen Dan Vladar get many starts lately. He came on in relief in a really rough game against Detroit. Mm-hmm. And they're going to need some reps for him, and the crease is getting crowded in Calgary. If Markstrom does not end up being, or if the Flames aren't presented with a strong enough deal for Jacob Markstrom where they don't feel like they're even going to go to him to waive that no trade clause, we're still going to see a very crowded crease for Calgary. We do need to see some reps for Vladar, and if anything, Vladar probably needs to get some eyes on him too, if he will have any trade value if you do go forward with a Markstrom-Wolf tandem in the future.
And speaking of Wolf, how has he shown in his time in the NHL? Because he's right there in the backyard at the Saddle Dome playing for the Wranglers. I know he's gotten some games with the Flames. How has he been received as an NHL goalie? I know there was the one start maybe a week or two ago where people didn't seem too happy about it, but overall, what are Flames fans saying about Dustin Wolf right now?
It hasn't been a glowing start for Dustin Wolf in the NHL, but he also got 0 run support. It was 2 of the worst turnovers we've seen from guys who are usually really defensively responsible, and Uyghur and Hanifin are the 2 turnovers that lead to goals that come to mind for me. And you know what? His start in the AHL wasn't that smooth either. He was fresh off of the World Juniors in Edmonton, where the USA won gold. He comes down and gets his first starts in the AHL bubble, and he got lit up. But you know what? He settled in, and he's spent the last couple seasons being the most dominant goaltender at that level. So I do think it will just take time for him to adjust, and he certainly has more to show than we've seen in the limited starts he's had.
Interesting. Nice to see like a reflex type of goalie. I know he's not the biggest guy, but he's entertaining to watch. He's like real jittery for people that haven't watched Dustin Wolf play. Interesting. Let's see how he progresses as he tries to make some hay in the NHL. All right, Cammy, I have to ask you.
Have you seen his warm-up?
No, what does he do?
He gets in the crease and he does a tuck jump on skates. Like, it's amazing. Like, he's got a vert with the skates on.
You know what he looks like? A street hockey goalie. You know what I mean? Like kind of like slim and like wiry. He looks like a street hockey goalie.
Completely. And he's also a really intense, competitive kid. And I don't know if you remember the Kipper kid when Mika Kippersoff was here. There was a kid who would be in the stands, like mimicking his every move. There's a kid who did that for Wolf in one of his home starts. He's got a couple nicknames. I like Young
What
Pup.
are they calling him? Because the Kipper kid's like 30 now, by the way.
Yeah. I think he like does hockey stuff still too.
That's awesome.
But I don't know. I don't think we have like a set name for. I just call him the pup.
The pup. That's a good one.
Yeah, because they also have like a howling sound effect that plays at the Saddle Dome sometimes when Wolf makes a good save. It's very Bark at the Moon. It's awesome.
I like that. Isn't it a full moon tonight, by the way? People keep mentioning it. I think it is a full moon. So great reference, Cammy. Okay. This Flames team, couple points back of a wild card spot. They played 57 games, 59 points, chasing Nashville. They're 3 points back of Nashville. The Preds have rattled off 3 straight wins. How realistic do you think it is that this Flames team can surge and try to contend for a wild card spot? Is there a lot of hope in Calgary for this Flames team right now?
I think there is hope in Calgary, especially when, you share those numbers where you see like they're not that far out of it. And Craig Conroy has been pretty upfront saying like, this is a retool. We're going to try to make some moves while we try to make the playoffs. And even if he went full rebuild, which we kind of thought he would for a while after making some of those moves with Zadorov leaving and Lindholm leaving, he can't make them lose. And they were playing really well for a long stretch there. And that's kept them in it. But if you zoom out and look at the big picture, if you assume you need 96 points is a pretty safe benchmark to make the playoffs. Calgary has 25 games left. I hate that I had to do math for this. You assume they need to win about 18 games. That's just over 70% in the home stretch. And that is a tall order when you're not able to capitalize and capture points against teams like San Jose. So they need to be at their best. They need some teams in front of them to fall flat on their faces a bit too. So the door is not closed, but it's a slim margin to get in there.
4-point game tonight, Cammy. The Oilers looking to bounce back after dropping 2 in a row, 1 in OT, 1 in regulation last night. The Flames rattled off back-to-back wins, 6 of 9, like I mentioned. What do you anticipate tonight here in Edmonton?
A Calgary team that is not ready to go down 0-3 against Edmonton in this regular season series. What I would actually really love to see is a battle between 2 of the top scoring defensemen in the league And Mr. Uyghur and Mr. Bouchard.
Okay. We can
Bouchard's got
see
14
that.
now. Is that it?
Yeah. I think they are tied, right? 14 goals each.
Uyghur's got 15. Uyghur's got 15.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
he's
that
still
means
got the
Bouchard will
lead,
chase him.
barely.
Okay, that would be good. And then we said, I like this. This is the question of the night. I'm going to ask it to you because Oiler fans have their opinions, and it's usually interesting to hear and see. Which rival Canadian fan base irritates you the most? Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Edmonton, Ottawa, Winnipeg. What is it, Cammy? And you're from BC, if I remember correctly, but have lived and worked in Calgary for a while. So which other Canadian fan base irritates you the most, and why?
And why?
Or do you have a story about something that happened?
Oh gosh. Okay, I was that awful fan as a youngster. Actually, a couple years ago, I grew up a Canucks fan. I grew up like in the tail end of the Pavel Bure heyday, and then seeing, Marcus Naslund come up, the Sedins come up. Pavel Demitra was actually probably my favorite Canuck for the brief time that he was there. But I got to go to a game in Edmonton a few years ago, and I wore 5 Canucks jerseys to the game. And every time Vancouver scored, I'd whip it off to reveal the next one. And I got to use every jersey that night. So it's probably the Canucks.
They're the most irritating, or you just like them? Oh, you're part of the problem.
It could be the most irritating.
Okay.
I'd say. But I will say in Calgary, Toronto tends to be the problem fan base, more so than Edmonton. I think people tend to take the chirping in stride when it's Edmonton. Everyone kind of knows what they're signing up for. But talking to security guards at the Saddledome, Toronto has the rowdiest fans, and that is one of the hardest games to get people to work for.
I see. You know what? Come to think of it, it does get pretty gnarly around here too when Toronto comes to town, especially after the game. It's interesting with Leafs fans. So good point. Cammy, great to have you on. Let's do it again. If you want to later in the season when these two teams get together, I think it's April 6th, we'll pre-book you. How does that sound?
Beautiful.
I'm in. Excellent. Cammy Koepke from Flames Nation. Check her out on Twitter and Instagram. Doing great work. Also covers the Dub, among other things. And obviously fantastic to have her on the program today. So question of the night, Cammy answered it there. Which rival Canadian fan base irritates you the most? If you're an Oilers fan, is it Calgary? Is it Vancouver? Is it Toronto? Like Cammy said, for her, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs fan base. They irritate her. And that's totally fair. Ken says, Tommy, the Canucks fans are the worst. Lady in Elevator is right. They're always looking to fight Oilers fans. And I've seen it. I almost, at the old Coliseum, I watched a brawl break out, and it was in the stands, and these guys that were fighting went like 4 rows down, and they almost toppled over from the top deck to the bottom deck. And it was not pretty. So I don't know if it's because it's Saturday nights, if it's 8 o'clock starts, but for whatever reason, it just gets rowdy whenever Vancouver's in the town. You tell us. I want to hear from you. 780-218-9999, or get at us in the nasty chat. Hersey chiming in says, hey, Tommy, my man, back from the U.S. where data rates aren't insane, just in time for the BOA. I have a nervous pit in my stomach. Could be the beers or the Oilers. Time will tell. But hell, it's the BOA. Cheers from Hersey. Maple Jed said, I love how salty Cammy got when you were going after Markstrom. Yes, trying to stir it up on this Saturday night. 780-218-9999. What do we... Oh, Carmen's getting in. More goalie talk. Tommy, do you think we need a goalie? I love Skinner, but I think we need a contingency plan. What do you think? I don't think the plan has changed after 1.5 bad weeks of shaky goaltending, Carmen. I think people are freaking out. That's just my 2 cents. And I was thinking on my drive home from the studios after finishing up Hello Hockey, I was thinking about how people were mad at Calvin Pickard. Then they lumped in Stuart Skinner yesterday on the post-game show. And I was like, boy, there's no leash whatsoever for Pickard, is there? And then people were getting on Skinner. So I just think that people need to take a deep breath, watch what happens tonight. If Skinner has a good performance, it'll quiet a lot of the noise. And no, last night wasn't particularly great, but Cass said it. The Oilers were an inch away from a puck going in. They hit a post, and maybe we're talking about a different outcome. And I don't think we're having these conversations. So I personally, because Carmen asked, I think that nothing has changed goalie-wise, and that might scare some people, but really, you look at the market, there's nothing good out there. No, I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury is going to waive to come to Edmonton. As much as I would like that, in theory, I think it's great, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the plan is to go with the guys that have gotten the orders to this point, and people are going to be like, that's BS. I hate that. Sorry. There's other priorities when it comes to the orders, and they can only make a move or two at the deadline. So that's my opinion on it, Carmen. I know you're probably freaking out among the other Oiler fans that are freaking out about goaltending. I get it. 780-218-99-99. Brent says Toronto fans are the worst. Best example lately, the fans defending Riley's hit on Greg is nothing is wrong there, according to them. Displaced Yukoner says, I grew up around mostly Canucks fans. Trust me, they are the worst. And then Donnie M is liking the three-piece tonight. Thank you, Donnie M. It's a big Saturday. I went very casual yesterday. We were on location at Hudson's, Bourbon Street. Huge thank you again to Steve and Adam and the entire crew out there. We had our EST watch party. Dustin with the Y was there. Andrea, Jay were there. Norman at Combine and the entire family was there. My parents and their friends. Who else was there? Richard was there. Meat was there. And then a lovely couple that was on their 2-year anniversary date in their Oilers jerseys. And we appreciate them for coming out. There was a lot of Oiler fans and EST fans on location at Hudson's, Bourbon Street. And even YouTube Trev made an appearance. Trev, what did you think of it last night?
Yeah, that was it was unreal. It was too unreal. I barely watched any of the game. I was talking to so many of the nasties, having a grand old time. I had some chicken tenders, the famous chicken tenders. I love them there. The Caesar is great. It was awesome. I love Hudson's. That's coming from Lethbridge, that's all really Lethbridge had was Hudson's. So every Wing Wednesday was Hudson's. I really love Hudson's, and I'm so happy about the deal. And it was a great night, and first of many. Or I guess that's a few. We've had a few there, so a few more.
Yeah, that was our first watch party, but we'll be live on location one more time next week at the White Ave location, and then we'll do 4 on locations per month until the end of the season. So a big thanks to the whole crew at Hudson's Bourbon Street, and it's been a great start so far with our partnership with the fine folks at Hudson's, Canada's Pub. All right, he is ready to go. He is our game analyst. He is the one and only Matt Kassian, coming at us from his satellite studios as it's time for Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting, RE/MAX Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find the right home or make the move from your current home. Community-driven, Damon understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram, Damon Bunting Real Estate. Hello, Cass. How are you? What's going on this Saturday?
I'm doing good. Was down at the rink this morning. Had the girls out skating at the Edmonton Oilers first shift program with the Edmonton Oilers alumni. Jason Strudwick running that thing. Aaron Klatt looks after it, helps out with the NHLPA side on that. Does a fantastic job for kids just learning to play hockey. If they've never played organized hockey before, pretty awesome program. So. Girls were having a blast. Chappie came out to watch. He had fun too. So it was a good time. It was a good time.
That sounds like a lovely Saturday. And I love the activation and the inclusion when it comes to the youth programs at the Oilers and the Community Foundation and the alumni have started to build up because they're accumulating. There's a bunch of them. The Junior Oilers program has been a success thus far. I know, it's I don't know, exclusive is the right. I'm not in the minor hockey community, but I know that for the most part, it's been a very positive thing. Now, listen, I'm sure there's kids that have tried out for that team, and there's always going to be banter, and you're never going to appease everybody. But from all the things that I've heard, the Junior Oilers has been a success thus far. The alumni, Aaron and Heather and Patty G, have done a great job. So it's really nice to see, and Struddy running things in his tight jeans underneath his track pants is a thing of beauty to behold in person.
Yeah, well, we never nude, so
He's a never nude. He's like Tobias Funke from Arrested Development. So great Arrested Development reference there. Cass, all right, before we get into number one, I want to throw out the question of the night to you and to our viewers and listeners. You can text us 780-218-9999 or at the Nasty Chat. Which rival Canadian fan base irritates you the most, Cass? Go for it.
This is an easy one. This is an easy one. The Toronto Maple Leafs. Now that would be just because probably because I played in Ottawa, where I think that ratcheted up a little bit. Because before that, I probably would have said I would have said the Calgary Flames, but they're a close second still, just because I grew up hating them.
Sure.
So they're close, but the Toronto Maple Leafs still take the cake. They're still the most fun to make fun of, in my opinion. So I continue to do so, and I will continue to do so. Probably my favorite one. I mean, Vancouver took the cake for a little while, like when they were flipping and burning their own cars and stuff like that.
Yep.
Then they were fair game, I think, but they're not as fun now. Montreal, their fans are awesome. Like I respect the craziness of their fans and the intensity of their fans. So I appreciate them as much as I hated the Montreal Canadiens and hated playing them. I mean, I guess I love playing them. I hated them. Therefore I love playing against them. Right. And I guess I love playing against Toronto too, because I generally knew I was going to play in those games because they were pretty nasty. So yeah, if I had to scale it, Toronto's coming in at number one. Calgary's a close second, followed by probably Vancouver, Winnipeg, and then probably Montreal after that. And Ottawa's home, so they get a pass.
Okay. As soon as you said Toronto, a bunch of people started texting in about the Leafs. Joelle says, my sister is a Leafs fan, but she knows that was a dumb ass hit, talking about Morgan Riley. And then Big Uke says, I hate the Leafs more than the Flames. I'd rather Calgary win a cup than Toronto. Might be a wild take. He says he hates the Leafs fans the most, but also, what is your best bet for tonight? In terms of what, Big Uke? I think it's going to be a good game tonight. Maybe we see goals. I thought there would be more goals last night. All right, Cass, let's get into it. Game Changers brought to you by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite number one. And I kind of hinted and touched on this briefly, and you talked about it last night. An inch one way.
Yeah, an inch one way, you miss the net completely. An inch the other way, it's in the net. They got movie
Mighty
references
Ducks.
all over the place today. But you got to bury those chances, Tommy. Got to bury those chances. Knobloch talked about it. Some of the players talked about it. They outplayed and they outchanced the Minnesota Wild quite comfortably, I would say. Now, it didn't end up being a comfortable win because they didn't actually put the puck in the net. Bearing down on a few of those missed opportunities, both the ones that went off the post, the ones they just straight up missed the net, that's going to be essential. I mean, you have that many opportunities, you have to find a way to score. And you lose the game yesterday. You lost in overtime against the Boston Bruins. You don't want to carry this into, ultimately 3 games where you didn't get 2 points in a row.
Right.
Really important not to do that. Really important not to lose back-to-back games here. So going up against your provincial rivals, the team that you may hate the most and love to beat the most, you really just got to bear down on those chances, Tommy. You have to put the puck in the net when you have those opportunities, when you have those tap-ins, when you have those high danger chances. You have to find ways to bear down and to put the puck into the net.
It did not happen last night. The Oilers outshot Minnesota 43-20. The power play did go 2 for 2, and the PK did go 4 for 4. But like Cass said, it's the 1 inch the one way or 1 inch the other way, and you got to bury when you have a great chance. All right, number 2 on Game Changers tonight, Cass. A consistent Flame.
Yeah, the chatter out of the Calgary Flames dressing room is how they need to play more consistent against the Edmonton Oilers. And Coleman in particular harped on this about how they feel when they have played Edmonton. They haven't played that consistent game. They've played passive. They've sat back. They haven't been aggressive, and actually spoke into what is a lot of teams' game plan against the Edmonton Oilers is that when you put a lot of pressure on them, when you put a lot of pressure on their defensemen, when you spend a lot of time in the offensive zone, it does really make the Oilers uncomfortable, and that's where you can find some success against them, but they haven't been able to do it consistently. So the Flames, look for them. They've been playing some better hockey. They're trying to claw back into that wild card conversation, going through an offloading process of assets and an on-the-fly retool or rebuild. And, they're going to bring that, I think, tonight. They're going to try to play as a consistent game as possible against Edmonton, which means they're going to play aggressive. They're going to play patient. Now, for the Oilers, your response to that is you need to play aggressive on the forecheck and patient yourself. Make sure you're not throwing pucks away in the offensive zone. You're not you forcing pucks through the middle unnecessarily, taking pucks to the net, bodies to the net, the things that they do when they're playing really well that just makes them a nightmare to deal with in the offensive zone. Really, really important, I think. If we look at this game, I think the team, and is true for most games, the team that's going to play consistent throughout the entirety of this game is probably going to be the team that wins.
The Oilers cast 7-3 in the last 10 visits against the Flames. So things are pretty good for the Oil right now against Calgary in general, consistency aside. I'm sure the Oilers are looking for a little bit of consistency like you alluded to, and looking to bounce back after a couple of disappointing results in the loss to Mini and then the OT loss to Boston. It is Game Changers with Matty Kassian. Game Changers, as always, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Number 1 was an inch one way. Number 2, a consistent flame. Number 3, Cass, Crazy Vlad. You muted yourself again.
I was clearing my throat. I did. I was clearing my throat, and I didn't want.
And then you said 3 sentences. I'm kidding. I'm just teasing you. I'm teasing you.
I put a good accent on it too. I said Dan Vladar. Yeah, out in the pipes. Vladar, Crazy Vladar. Out in net for the Calgary Flames. Markstrom looks to be a little banged up. Maybe a little bit surprising. The Calgary Flames didn't play yesterday. You thought that Markstrom was most likely going to get the nod, but if we do look back, it's what's also not interesting at the same time is Markstrom at times has really struggled against Edmonton Oilers the past couple of years, and so you have your backup goaltender going in now. You're getting Oilers on the second of back-to-back nights, but an interesting look nonetheless. In that Markstrom, who again he struggled against Edmonton, but he's been playing some pretty solid hockey, I would say, for the Calgary Flames. Potential trade bait. They might move him. They might not. We don't know yet. We will have to wait and see. But in the meantime, they're going to get a look at a backup goalie against the Edmonton Oilers, who have a highly potential and potent offense. So he's going to have to bring it for the Calgary Flames tonight. For the Edmonton Oilers on the flip side, you got to challenge him. A guy that he probably still gets the gravity of the game and the intensity of the Battle of Alberta and how much these teams and the fan bases don't like each other. But he hasn't participated in nearly as many as Jacob Markstrom, and maybe a little bit of an opportunity for Edmonton here to go up against a backup that's not the Calgary Flames' best goaltender. Hopefully really challenge him, put some pucks by him, and make it a really difficult night for the Calgary Flames.
Jacob Markstrom did get the start in the Heritage Classic, 4 goals on 32 shots. He got touched up the one season the Oilers played Calgary in the playoffs. I think 6 of the 9 games, he got touched up for 6 goals plus. And obviously the playoff series did not go well for Markstrom. The Oilers have really gotten to him. And then Vladar did play in that game on January 20th. That, of course, was another Oilers victory. Vladar allowed 2 goals on 31 shots. That game happening down at the Saddle Dome. This is the 3rd of 4 meetings this season between these two clubs. Carmen was texting in earlier in the nasty chat. I gave my 2 cents on it. A lot of people making noise about the goaltending right now. Cass, where are you at with these 2 goalies? From an Oilers standpoint, of course.
Yeah, I'm not panicking.
Yeah.
Like I get where people, they see one goal go in on Pickard, the second goal, and they're like, we need a new backup. But it's like, look at his numbers. They said. Look at his numbers. His numbers have been good. He's been incredibly solid, Tommy. He's been incredibly solid. So I know. What you're gonna go out and spend all your assets and everything you have? Like, is goaltending the most crucial need? I don't think so. I don't think so. And Stuart Skinner, you could talk about how people think he's fatigued or mentally fatigued. And, he's had a couple nights where he's displayed some frustration visibly that you've seen. And it's just like, okay, does that mean you need to go get Marc-Andre Fleury or try to do something crazy to bring in a goaltender? I that to me has problem written all over it. I don't think you need to upgrade the goaltending. I don't think you need to change anything. I think you need to help out around your goaltender. So depth defenseman, if we talked about it after last game, last night, I guess it was, bringing in a depth centerman if you can for your third line, like things that will help the goaltending. I think that goes a longer way than trying to actually go out and trade your goalies. And I know there's lots of people I can see all over. Kgill 97 really doesn't like what I'm saying. He's replying to me in all caps, which is typical because I always write in all caps. So when people write to me, they write in all caps, and I love it. It's great.
That's the nasty chat.
That's the nasty chat. But yeah, I mean, and his point is Skinner's fine, but we need a 1B. And I'm kind of like, do you need a 1B or do you need a solid backup? And has Pickard not been a solid backup? That would be my question. Like, what has Calvin Pickard done to show us that he's not a capable backup at this point? Tommy, what has he done to show us he's not a capable backup?
He's done everything to show us that he is a capable backup. 7-3. And like, listen, Carmen's a huge Oiler fan. He's all over EST, and that's why we love him. But he's antsy, and because Carmen goes back to our 1260 days, and going back a few years, Carmen is an antsy Oilers fan that wants, and it's okay to want, but sometimes you got to take a step back and be realistic too. And what is realistic is the Oilers not doing anything at goalie and focusing at bolstering their top 9. And then looking at adding a defenseman, which are priorities. You can't have six D-men on the roster, and that's it. They've ridden with basically 6 D-men the majority of the season. That's a problem.
Yeah, well, you cut out for part of that, Tommy, so I couldn't hear all of it. But I'm assuming you talked about some of the defensive depth around that's a problem. The forward and depth scoring. I'm assuming that's what you also said is a problem. And I didn't even have to hear it because, Tommy, that's what the problem is. That's what the problem is. It's not the goaltending at this point, and I don't think it ever has been the goaltending. And I know at the start of the season when they were losing like crazy and falling apart, people were. I mean, they're furious with the goaltending, and that was for a lot of people. That was the primary reason. But the high danger scoring chances against us, it's like, well, how often do you expect them to stop backdoor tap ins? Like you don't. It wasn't. It was the players that were playing around them, and Tommy, if they get better in some of those areas, add some depth on the defense. If you could add a top 4 defenseman, sure, that's going to be really hard to do. But if you add some depth to the defenseman. And if you were able to add, a third line center, that goes a long way to continuing to help out your goaltending. And then it just some of those issues or how fans feel about those issues might quiet down.
Yeah. It is interesting. And it is like we see it at the trade deadline, and it starts to get people get excited and the juices start flowing and people start hearing these names. We had Pagnotta on here earlier on Hello Hockey again because people's Gensel, not going to happen. Very, very unlikely for Edmonton. Pagnotta pointed again to Philadelphia. He pointed again to the potential of Adam Henrique. I think he brought in, was it Joe Valeno's name at one point, if I'm remembering correctly, on Hello Hockey. But like we had this text that came in earlier. It's facetious. Came in and said, with all the Crosby to Edmonton chatter, why not Ovi to Edmonton at 50% retained? Ha! Just jokes. But, at this time of year, it is the silly season. People go a little bit squirrely, if you will. And I think, aim high and see what you can get, but you also have to be a little bit realistic, Cass, right?
Yep. No, you do. And I think there were some reports coming out, and I think it was Jim Matheson that wrote an article about Pavel Buchnevich from the St. Louis Blues as being an option. That to me would be more realistic than a Gensel.
Yes.
A higher potential than a Gensel. I still think, and there haven't been any reports on it, so who knows if they're actively exploring that. I've talked about it. I still think like an Anthony Duclair would be someone, if you're looking at that top 6 position, trying to bring in a winger that could be a fit. I look from a depth standpoint like an Andrew Peak from the Columbus Blue Jackets, who in my opinion would be a perfect fit to slot in from a depth standpoint into your lineup. So there's guys out there. The Gensel is as much as we would love that and as great as it would be, I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's happening, Tommy. So you have to be realistic in looking at this and what's going to be available and what's going to be achievable, and from a cap standpoint and from a what's going to have to go out standpoint. So there are some guys out there that could help. I do think they make a move before the deadline. Certainly with a Buchnevich type player, you have a little bit of term where you get him for 2 years, so it might be more appealing. So there's some options out there that they'll take a look at, but yeah, I don't think Gensel is a realistic one for as much as I would love to have him here.
Understandable, and good way to wrap that up, because, and then the other thing I'll add too, just when it comes to Philadelphia, people start texting about Konechny. They just made him an alternate captain. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere. He was never part of the conversation. The Oilers have, just to reiterate what Pagnotta and I've had confirmed to me, is the Oilers and the Flyers have been talking all season long. And then the names that Pagnotta keeps hearing are Sean Walker and Scott Lawton. Yep. So not Travis Konechny, for those that are getting their hopes up. That's not going to happen. All right, Cass, finally, what kind of game are we going to see tonight, do you think? High scoring or low scoring affair tonight?
Somewhere in the middle, I think. I think it starts off as a low scoring affair where teams are playing really tight, and then I think it opens up a little bit as the night moves along. So I think you're going to get a little bit of both. Overall, it's going to kind of be a tweener. Let's call it an average one. I think it takes time from a scoring standpoint, most likely, to open up a little bit here. Both teams, I don't want to say they'll both be playing cautious, but they're both going to be playing to win and playing hard and trying really not to make defensive mistakes, which is, kind of how both teams want to play this game, I think. So, I think we see that. And just to jump back, I think Sean Walker would be another guy, which completely makes sense to me. Again, not the biggest defenseman. He's not big, but a guy that can slot in and play up and down on that right side. That's the right shooting guy. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all that he would be someone that would be in that conversation. But yeah, for tonight, for the Oilers, hey, they're gonna. I mean, the conversation in the room is going to be bear down on your chances, and we talked about that. And understanding that the Calgary Flames, I think, and even going to what Coleman's comments were, going to what some of what we heard out of the Calgary Flames dressing room, they're going to try to play really aggressive. They're really going to try to press you. They're going to try to play hard. They're going to try to play physical. They're going to try to force Edmonton's defensemen to make mistakes, to force pucks up the wall that are bouncing, to create turnovers and quick chances inside of Edmonton's zone. That's what you're going to see from the Calgary Flames. Now, Edmonton's going to try to counter that by just being patient, by moving the puck north quickly and trying to make Calgary pay for the pressure that they're bringing.
Let's see which team executes better, Cass. Maybe we get an entertaining mid-level offensive game tonight at Rogers Place.
Sorry, I was not a defensive battle. I didn't say it's going to be like 8-7.
I know.
But not as exciting, but I don't see that happening. Now, maybe it does. Maybe they blow it wide open and it goes crazy. That'd be fun.
A modest amount of goals is just fine. And by the way, your former team, the Senators, just took the lead a few minutes ago against the Vegas Golden Knights for the out-of-town score. Watchers, because that's an important one. The Oilers trying to reel in. The Golden Knights still 2 points back. So Ottawa doing the Oil a favor on behalf of Matt Kassian, I would say.
Absolutely.
Cass, great stuff as always. Catch up with you on the post game, buddy.
Thanks, Tommy.
That is our game analyst, Matt Kassian, with Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. If you're looking to get into the market, maybe sell your place, check out our buddy Damon Bunting. You can get at him on his website or at Damon Bunting Real Estate on Instagram. All right, I mentioned those Calgary Flames and the Oilers. We'll see what happens tonight. Cass kind of setting it up nicely. And then I also talked about the Ottawa Senators, who currently lead the Vegas Golden Knights. That's important for the Oilers because the Oils sit 2 points back of Vegas. They do have games in hand on Vegas, 3 to be exact. And they're looking to reel in the Golden Knights, who've dropped their last 2 games, have a 5-5 record in their last 10. Edmonton at 5-4-1. It hasn't been as smooth sailing as people would like since the All-Star break for the Oil, but a chance to redeem themselves after last night's loss to Minnesota. Let's get you up to speed on the other games out of town tonight. 13 games total on the sched. You had Detroit just smacking around the Blues 6-1 at Little Caesars Arena. 4-3, the Devils beat the Habs in New Jersey. The Lightning double up the Islanders on Long Island 4-2. The Rangers get the better of the Flyers 2-1. In overtime, it was the Panthers winning over Washington 3-2. In the third period, less than 5 minutes left to play, 3-3 Avs and Leafs. 3-2 Ottawa leads Vegas with 5 minutes left, like I was mentioning. And then you've got Boston up 2-0 on Vancouver, 11 minutes left in the third period. That's good, too, if you're an Oilers fan, I suppose, although the Canucks do have 80 points on the year. Dallas leading Carolina in Carolina, 6 minutes remaining in the second period. And then you've got Seattle welcoming Minnesota to town. That's an 8 o'clock start like our game. And then San Jose gets Nashville. And finally, the late one sees the Kings welcome in the Anaheim Ducks, the Battle of Los Angeles, essentially. Carmen, defending himself, says, Tommy, I'm not being as crazy, but Friedman said Oilers are trying for a Henrique. Do you think he fits what the Oilers need? Third line center and top 6 forward. Yes, Carmen. Yes, I do. Now it's a matter of making the price fit for Adam Henrique, who probably wants to play on a contending team and not the Anaheim Ducks, who have struggled after a good start to the season. The Ducks sitting at 42 points through 56 games. They can't win at home to save their lives with an 8-19-1 record. So, yes, I do think Adam Henrique would bolster the Oilers' top 9. And if you can make that work money-wise, go for it. Absolutely. So I wanted to answer that one from Carmen. 780-218-9999. I want to read this text. I've been sitting on it for a while. It's from Vance Van Vandervan. Says, TG, I will most likely be at Ice House after the game. Can you let the Nasties know if they wind up there? Yell, Vance Van Vandervan, when they get in, and I'll join them for a drink. Vance Van Vandervan, the message is out there, and your buddy Tommy Rubella is also in the inbox. Says, my game day prediction, the score will be 12-2 for the Oilers. There will be 8 fights, and McDavid will get a double Gordie Howe hat trick. 2 fights, 2 goals, 2 assists. Tommy Rubella and Vance Van Vandervan, I feel like you two are already into the sauce, but I appreciate those texts very, very much. All right, YouTube Trev, anything you want to get to before we go into the Oilers locker room?
No, just going back to the Henrique talk, I could entertain that idea all day. I think he fits a lot of the Oilers' needs right now, and he's on pace for a career year, which is kind of surprising. And a little bit of experience, more depth. That's one player the Oilers, I would be super intrigued, if they got. So, just a little insight on that, Tommy. But with that being said, shall we head to, do you want to do Chris Knobloch first?
Why not?
Let's do it. Here is the Oilers head coach.
What things do you take this morning to focus on with the group to maybe try and shape up a little bit in time for tonight?
I think probably the biggest part is coming out, start of the game, and having a strong first period and building off that. We're just, we're building games, which is great. I think that's really important, but I think we can a little more urgency to start our games and make it a lot easier on ourselves.
Chris, from this point on to where you hope to get to in terms of a full 60 minutes, what steps do you guys need to take to make sure that you guys are able to deliver the game plan you guys have set out for a full 60 minutes?
Through this time, I think there's been, whether it's, missing defensive details, puck management, just not executing. I can't put my finger on it saying we have to just do this one thing, or maybe it's a line that's been disappointing, or maybe the D hasn't been set up. It hasn't been one thing all the time. It's just collectively 20 guys that we're dressing each night need to do their job and help participate.
And just confirming Stuart Skinner starting tonight?
Stuart is starting tonight.
Thank you.
You weren't here for the Vegas Classic. But you've been around long enough. I mean, obviously the Battle of Alberta, the whole rivalry thing.
Yeah, I wasn't here for the Heritage game, but I was in Calgary. We had a great atmosphere there in Calgary, and it was a pretty good game, and got to experience a little bit. And, we came up ahead that game, but it was a very close game. And tonight you'll see the other side of it being at home. But, you see the energy in the building, energy in the trickles down to the players and even the staff. We get excited about it, and it's just one of those games that pick you up. And it's an 82-game grind, and it's hard to get up for everyone because you're playing every second day. But there's times in the schedule when you're playing a team that you're trying to catch in the standing, or somebody who's right behind you, or a rival that's in the same province. This is one of those games that kind of alleviate that grind.
Not that you're not busy enough with everything going on with this team, but do you get a chance to glance over and pay attention to what the Golden Bears have been doing at all since your time back?
I've been fortunate to be able to catch in 2 of their games, and it was wonderful getting back in the building there, and something that I hold very fondly of my time there. And, watching them was nice, and hopefully they have continued success.
Cameras catch things on the ice sometimes, and there were a few shots of what looked to be a kind of frustrated Leon Draisaitl last night. You know that he, at times can run a little bit hot. What have you seen from him, his frustration level? Obviously, he's playing real good hockey and putting points up, but what do you sense on that side of Leon, kind of trying to maintain that good balance, but also playing with some fire?
Yeah, there is a balance, and sometimes players, you can often see players get frustrated for numerous reasons, usually 2 of them. One is a lot of times players get frustrated, upset, and it's usually a lot of selfishness, looking inside and unhappy with their situation. And that is not the case with Leon at all. Leon is competing really well, working hard, putting up points. He's just wanting things to go really well for the team. And obviously, Leon's a big part of it. And, last night, that was a pretty good game. He was competing, he was working hard, and second efforts on the puck, and he's been doing that for many games. And, he just wants us to, have the success that we were having through January and February and pick up where we were. That's all.
Chris, last night Connor McDavid talked about the number of games remaining in the schedule in a relative short period of time, and he says he kind of likes it because it allows the team to get more in a rhythm. How do you kind of approach that? Do you kind of agree with with that sentiment in terms of this team will better be able to get in a rhythm with more games played?
Well, I know players always like less practices, more games, and we are entering that situation where the practice time is very minimal to the end of the season and into playoffs. And, when you're playing back-to-back games or every second day, when you have a stinker, you don't play very well, or you lose, you don't have time to dwell on it. You can't think about it. You can't hold on to it. It's, all right, turn the page. We're getting into the next game. And for players, it's move on to the next one.
All right, that's what the Oilers' focus will be, trying to move on from yesterday's 4-2 loss to the Minnesota Wild, back-to-back home games. Tonight, it is the Calgary Flames. We'll see if Edmonton can get back into the win column. They've been really good against Calgary in the last little while. Edmonton at home in the last 10, they have a 7-3 record, or 7-2-1 record, I should say, against the Flames. And overall, whether it's in Calgary or in Edmonton, the Oilers have also had a fair share of success in recent years. Lately, the Oil have rattled off 4 straight wins versus Calgary and do have a 7-3 record in the last 10 overall, not just at home, versus the Flames as well. All right, YouTube Trev, do we have Flames audio and video that we want to get to?
Yes, we do. And let's hear from the head coach of the Calgary Flames, Ryan Huska.
Just a quick update. I know you guys all watched the morning skate. Andre wasn't out there. Andre's not well, so he will not be in the lineup for us tonight.
Is that just a short-term type thing?
Yeah.
How exciting is it to get Jacob back in tonight?
I think it's great. I really do. I mean, he's he's an infectious personality character around our dressing room, and I think when you get into these type of games, it's good to have a person like that in the room, but also available for us on the ice.
Can you just take us behind the rationale behind starting Vladar tonight?
Jacob's not 100%, so he's in a position to be able to back up, but he's not 100%.
Ryan, do you need this win pretty badly?
We need every win, so every game's an important one for us. I mean, that goes without saying for our team. We have to make sure that we're at our best every time, no matter where we are, here, Calgary, wherever it is. Every game's an important one.
Putting Jacob in with Diego and Jonathan.
I got to duck up.
Obviously, you have other lines that are working well. Was this a case of you had a spot that was open and a guy that really fit that need?
Well, that line's they're not set per se, a couple of our lines. We had to make sure we got through the morning with Jacob and seeing how he responded and all that stuff that comes along with it. So we'll see as the night goes on. He may find himself in a few different positions and places in our lineup.
And we've seen Dryden sort of move up and down during games. What is it about his game that makes him so versatile and useful for you guys?
We talked about Dryden a couple times in the past. I think because of his experience now of being a veteran player that's been an up and down guy, I think he understands really well the type of role he has to fit based on where he's slotted in the lineup. So if he sees himself on a lower line per se, he knows how he has to play. If you bump him up for some lines, he still stays hard, but he has the ability to make some plays with offensive players. So I think because of his experience being in this role of being a guy that's seen a little bit of time up and down, he has a good understanding of what's required out of him.
With a group that's much younger than the last time you were in this building, Ryan, like how do you rely on the vets to control the temperature emotionally during a Saturday night basketball?
They've all been a part of it already this year, so it's really not much different. I mean, all these young guys have played in those games before, so our veteran players are the ones you have to lean on at this time of the year. We've talked a lot about the level being raised after certain breaks or certain portions of your schedule. This is one of them, and you see the older players, they start taking charge. And our team is no different. And we saw that the last few games when we needed a push, we got it from our older players, and we're going to need that again here tonight.
Ryan, in regards to those, Nazem Kadri's having a great year.
Yeah.
Can you just maybe give me a thought on his year and how he seems a lot more comfortable this year than maybe a little bit less?
He's one thing with Naz, he's been consistent with who he is, and Naz he's been known for you can call him an agitator or just a worker. That's what we've got from him this year, but I think he's taken it to another level because the guys he's playing with, he feels a sense of responsibility in helping to bring them along. So I do feel like he puts a little bit more pressure on himself to make sure he's at the right place to show his line mates as to how you have to be each night. So he's been really good for us that way.
And it looks like he's been a really good influence on those kids. Like he's showing them what it takes to be an everyday NHLer, and they seem to be responding.
I think they have. They have good dialogue between them, and with Naz, once you get to know him a little bit, sometimes he understands when there is a path that's needed, like, hey, you can make that play, and other times he's like, don't make that play. I mean, that's what makes Naz, and those guys have really, bought into what he's selling as a line.
Ryan, the last start for Dan was against Edmonton last month, just before he got banged up. What'd you like about him in that game?
He gave us a chance, especially in the first period. If you remember way back into that first period, we were not at our best. They had a lot of good looks in that game, and he was excellent to start the game. So we want to make sure our team starts better tonight than we did in that game to make sure we have some good pace to what we want to do. So we don't have to rely on him as much as we did in the first period of that game.
We ask a lot of questions about how Chris Tanev is on the ice, and we've all seen how much of a warrior he is. What's it like seeing him as a personality off the ice when he's talking to his teammates or when you're just talking to him one-on-one?
What is he like as a person?
Yeah, just personality-wise, anything that we wouldn't see.
Yeah, I think what you see is a little bit of what he is. I mean, everybody sees the pictures of his smile with one tooth. I mean, if you were to paint a picture of what he is off the ice, he's very similar. He's not the most vocal guy, but he is a guy that everybody wants to be around. So a little bit of what you see when you watch him on TV is the same sort of thing. If you can think about what he would be like off the ice, you're probably pretty close to it.
Ryan, you'd be hard-pressed if you're paying attention to any of the sport shows or anything. There's a lot of noise at this time of year, and you guys are in the middle of that for obvious reasons. How do you think your group has done in terms of either shutting that out or not letting it affect kind of day-to-day, because the Flames are obviously very much talked about at this time of year right now?
Yeah, we feel like we've dealt with it all year from the beginning of the season. So at this point of it, it's really not not anything that's new for our group, where our players have done a really good job of focusing on what's right in front of them. And that starts with Michael Backlund and his leadership group, and it has allowed us to continue to play some really good games, which is what we're going to.
All right, that's Ryan Huska there praising his captain, Michael Backlund, as well as the veterans on the team, keeping the Flames in the mix in the Western Conference. They are 3 points back heading into action tonight of the Nashville Predators. Going into tonight, the Preds holding down that second wild card spot, and we'll see if Ryan Huska's team can try to pull a victory out of Edmonton. The Oilers have rattled off 4 straight wins overall against the Flames. I'm watching a 2-on-1 in the Vegas-Ottawa game because the Golden Knights tied it late with 1:15 left. Chandler Stevenson forcing overtime, and Sens have possession. So the Oilers will not be able to catch the Golden Knights tonight. I did have some texts that I wanted to get to. I want to get to this one before we go back inside the Flames locker room. Connor Texan says, Tommy, what's the dress code tomorrow morning for the game? Are we thinking suits? I'm trying to match your energy. Well, Connor, you're talking about the Heavy Hockey Showdown in support of the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton, which is at the Downtown Community Arena at 11 tomorrow. We've got the EST team with myself. You've got YouTube Trev playing. You've got Dusty Nielsen playing. And is Zacticum playing, Trev? Is that who else is playing?
Yep. Yeah, you got Zacticum.
Will play. And then we have Iwanek behind the bench and Eric behind the bench and Fergie's Prostate as well as Pete. Those guys were in on the auction and donated to our entry into the tournament in support of the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. You were going to say something else there?
Yeah, I'm just so excited. I think I'm more excited just to see Maddie and the coaching staff, what we got behind the bench. It's going to be, and even LT, he's going to get into it. I heard maybe Maddie might throw a stick. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's I don't know what to expect. I don't know if it's going to be intense. I don't know if it's going to be because these games really can go both ways. Like we've heard just yesterday, I believe, or no, I don't know when I heard this, but Steve McIntyre and George Larocque, they were talking about some charity event games, and those guys almost went toe to toe for a charity event. It's like, holy crap, what are we doing? So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Surveyor Brett will be one of the refs for the game, and I feel like he's got his sights set on tossing Iwanek, which I am here for all day, every day. Looking forward to seeing if that happens tomorrow at the Downtown Community Arena. All right, let's go back inside the Flames locker room. Who do you want to hear from first? Do you want to hear from Huberdeau, Trev, or do you want to get to Jacob Pelletier?
Yeah, let's hear from the French Canadian. Here is Jacob Pelletier.
No, it's nice. It's nice, it was a long 2 weeks, but now it's nice to be playing tonight.
How do you feel like you're getting to play with a guy you've got a relationship with in Jonathan? How different is that for you?
It's nice, like a good player, and for me just to kind of play the same game, and we'll see what's gonna happen.
You've seen a lot of Sharankovic. What do you like about his game?
He's got a crazy shot, to be honest. He's a smart guy, win face-off. And, I think us three, if we move the puck fast and shoot the puck, I think good things can happen.
You've been watching a lot of the games. How have you felt about the group and how they played of late?
It's been good. The past 2 games, you can see the guys were... I think we kind of play 4 lines and 6D. You can see the guys were kind of in like a playoff mode, and
You were feeling really good about your game before the hit, hey?
Yeah, no, I was. It's kind of tough when you miss 4 months to be able to play in the A for 5 games and then to come back here after the second game. I thought me, Rooms, and Dewey kind of got things going, and we kind of step up our game, and it happened. So yeah. Sorry. I'm not joking. He's the boss. Hey, this guy's the boss.
Does taking a hit like that maybe change how you'll approach future situations or anything, Jacob? Or?
No. I think I kind of look if he was there, and I couldn't see him, and then I received the puck, and it happens. But for me, it's to play the same game and not be scared on the ice. Yeah.
When you haven't played a while and you're playing fast for a team like this, what do you do to make sure you're ready out there?
Well, I've been training, and it's not the same, but the practices that I've been part of were fast. So for me, I think I kind of stayed in shape. It was not like 4 months, right? It was like only 10 days or 2 weeks. So for me, it's to play fast and hard.
All right, that is Jacob Pelche getting into game number 5 this season in the NHL. He did play a couple of games for the Calgary Wranglers, I should say a handful. He played 4, scoring 2 goals, picked up an assist, 3 points. He was nicked up for the start of the season, missed a chunk of time, and he's back in action tonight against the Oilers, and he will be on a line with... Where is he there? He's with Jonathan Huberdeau and Yegor Sharangovich. So that is Jacob Pelche. Speaking of Jonathan Huberdeau, he also spoke to the media after the Flames morning skate.
How nice is it to see Jacob back in the lineup, Pelche?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, obviously, he worked hard, to get back, and obviously, what happened, kind of a little minor injury, but, I think it's obviously nice to have him back, and I think like I said, he worked hard to get back, and hopefully he can stay in now.
Jonathan, what would it mean for your team at this stage of the season when you're fighting for a playoff spot to come into this rink on a Saturday night and beat your rivals?
Yeah, I think, we, they got our number, so I think we need to win this one, for us. It's huge, and I think, we're so close to the playoff spot as well, and obviously, that rivalry is big, and we want to get our fan, a win.
How different is the Battle of Alberta, Jonathan, to other rivalries that you've experienced in your careers?
I think you can see just this sense of being in Canada. It's always more intense, and I think obviously against them we're close to each other, and I think it's just intense. You can see just the atmosphere in the crowd, and I think we got to come here in their building. It's not going to be easy, but we got to play our best game so far.
What did you like the most about your last 2 victories that you want to carry forward into this one as a team?
I think the way we play, when we play it consistently, throughout the game, and I think we play our game. I think it's with a lot of pace, and want to play a fast game, and that's what we got to do. I think when we try to slow down, that's when we're not at our best. So we got to make sure we play fast and play in their zone. And we know they're really good offense. We got to play in their zone and get under defensemen.
We've asked a lot of questions to you guys about Chris Tanev and how much of a warrior he is and how much he plays through pain. What's one thing about his personality off ice that not a lot of people know about that appeals to you?
I mean, he's a funny guy. I think Tanny. He's he's the kind of guy that you say can be quiet, but some days he comes in and talks, and he's funny character. And I think is the kind of guy that you want to play for, and he's such a good teammate, such a good leader in our locker room.
What's a weird thing that Chris Tanev is into that you would have never guessed he'd be into? Like, just an interest of his?
Just not wearing any teeth in front of
Dentistry.
Yeah, dentistry. Yeah. He's really in the dentistry. He doesn't want to spend money into that.
All right, that was Jonathan Huberdeau cracking jokes about Chris Tanev and his lack of teeth. Probably tough to chew gum for Chris Tanev, but he is a warrior and a highly sought-after one that the Oilers would certainly be interested in. And I think the Flames are listening to all parties, even though their provincial rivals are right there. And I'm sure the Flames want to try to catch the Oilers, but I don't like their chances. I am just saying, you did see the Sens beat the Golden Knights in the shootout. So the Golden Knights do pick up a point. And then late in the third period, Philip Hronek ties it up for the Vancouver Canucks, who were down 2-1 to the Boston Bruins. And that one looks like it's headed to OT as well, unless you see some late game heroics from the Bruins or the Canucks in the dying seconds of the game. 1 minute left in that one. Exactly. All right, let's get to a couple of texts really quickly, and then we'll say goodbye as we get set for the Oilers and the Calgary Flames. Connor adds, I hope I don't need to eject any coaches. Look out for the refs with our own custom jerseys. Surveyor Brett. And maybe Connor, you got to watch out for wild card out there. And Connor also really wants to know if him and Brett need to wear suits They cannot be the best dressed there. Can't let the 2 refs outdress the players. I will not be wearing a suit tomorrow for the heavy hockey showdown. So you guys, Cotter, by all means, wear whatever you want. Mikey texting in says, I found an Easter egg at the end of the Bo Bichette home run song in the Nasty Club bonus content, like 35 seconds near the end. Not sure what it means, but I will try to decipher the future. EST rules. Mikey, good luck with that. I can't remember the Bo Bichette home run song, but dig deep, my friend. Pepe Sylvia is all I have to say. All right, YouTube Trev, you still wearing that jersey?
Yes, I am. Let's see here.
Heavy hockey showdown.
Let's go. Yes,
there you go.
There we are.
Team EST riding strong.
Yeah, looks good. Yep.
Downtown Community Arena tomorrow at 11. YouTube Trev, maybe he's going to be on my line. I don't know.
I hope so. That would be awesome, Tommy.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
You've been working on your stick handling?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I went out a few times to the ODR down by the river, I guess, this week. So, yeah, it'll be good. And I hear Dusty's actually surprisingly, I don't know, have you laced him up with Dusty before?
Many times.
Yeah.
Many
Is
times.
Is he okay? Not bad?
He's all right.
I heard surprisingly good. Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah,
so
good hands usually.
Yeah, so it's gonna be sweet, man. I can't wait. And as for this game, I can't wait as well. Right, this is Battle of Alberta. I mean, the Nasties. It's awesome. It's always the most fun game of the year, I think, for me. Anytime these two teams match up, so I'm expecting a good one. It should be. I think what Cass was saying. I think it's gonna be close. I really do. I don't think there's gonna be a blowout tonight. Watch out for Connor Zary. He's been one of the most consistent Flames this season. You start strong, you end strong. Maybe the Oilers get the full 60 this tonight. So time will tell. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
I like it. I think we're in for a good battle tonight. The Flames looking to get the better of the Oilers, like Cammy Kepke said from Flames Nation. They do not want to lose 3 in a row this season to the Oilers. They've lost 4 in a row overall to Edmonton going back to last year. But I do think the Oilers, like Chris Knobloch talked about, turn the page on yesterday, bounce back strong, have a better start, and maybe they pull out the win. I think that they will. I'm talking about a 5-3 Oilers win tonight. That's my game day prediction. Do you want to take a crack at it or no?
Well, I surprisingly I said 4-2 yesterday, and I got that right surprisingly. Tonight, let's see. I'm going to go, I think there actually might be a few goals, but I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go 5-4. I'm right with you. Oilers dub. That's what I'm thinking, Tommy.
All right. And one last thing for Joelle, who texted this in, I think, yesterday. She says, tell Zedmo that Ernie isn't an upgrade for Brown. Joelle, I guess so. I'll go with that. I mean, Connor Brown, it's just not happening. And we'll see if he can get a goal at some point ever. But has not been going his way at all. All right, that is going to do it for the Oil Stream pregame show. A huge thank you to everyone who watched, who listened, whether it was on iHeartRadio, which we're now on, tune in, our audio stream, or on YouTube. A big thank you to everybody. And a huge thank you to Cammy Kepke from Flames Nation for hopping on, giving us the Flames side of the story going into action tonight. For Matty Kassian and YouTube Trev, I'm Tom Gazzola saying enjoy the Battle of Alberta. Talk to you after the game. Bye-bye.